Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the hot seat with One Woman Shop. I am Sara Frandina, and on my other side here is Cristina Roman. And this is our weekly show where we bring topics that we see amongst our community and our membership that affect our solo business owners. And this one is particularly exciting because we're coming up on the year anniversary of the launch of our e-course, Building Your Online Community. So that's what we're here to talk about.
We love this topic so much that we had to do a whole entire e-course. So we're passionate about a topic when there's an entire course or handbook dedicated to it.
And fun fact, the outline for that course was built by Cristina on a Friday night in about 3 hours, and it was 16 pages.
Now everyone's going to know how cool I am that I sit home on a Friday night working. This is my life, guys. We actually use that as the jumping off point for your solopreneur when we were saying when you get super passionate about something and you can just sit down and like pound it out and you're just like, I have so many freaking ideas. That was exciting to see. And then we worked on it together for months.
Yes, true story. Awesome. So where shall we begin? Let's talk about what we mean by an online community. Do you want to start?
Yeah, let's do it. So we define an online community pretty broadly. So we say that an online community is your clients, your customers, your potential clients, your potential customers. It's your collaborators. Maybe it's your business partner. It is your coaches. It's your mentees, your mentors. Basically anyone that you interact with online that in a way that kind of serves your solo business. Do you have anything to add to that?
No, that's exactly it. I think a lot of people get into the trap of thinking that their community is just people that buy from them or just people on their list. And it's way more than that. It's all the people that kind of contribute or participate in making you a solopreneur.
Right. And you just kind of touched on it, that it's not just about an email list. So you came up with this awesome slogan. You'll probably see this around the interwebs pretty soon, but do you want to say what your catchphrase was?
Yeah. So I think there are a lot of resources out there to help you build your email list and a lot of really great resources. Yeah. So I was trying to think about, what makes our course, Building Your Online Community, different. Why does it just feel like, and I'm not even trying to like pat ourselves on the back, but why does it feel more than those other resources? And it just kind of hit me. I was probably in the shower mowing the lawn, and it's really because BYOC, what we lovingly call this course, is it's not just about building a list, it's about building a community. And I think that's really important as a solopreneur, especially when we talk about the fact that when we talk about email lists, it's such a focus on numbers. Mm-hmm. And, I only have 25 subscribers. I only have 2,500 subscribers. It's
25,000. That's it.
Right. It's all relative. But when you're focused on building a community, 25 people in the community is a fantastic number. 100 people is amazing. So I think it takes the emphasis off of quantity and puts it on quality.
Yeah, and I would say, holy echo.
I don't hear that. That's strange.
My voice echoing back in my ears is just never a good thing. Okay, hopefully that's better. So I was going to say that the other big thing about the difference between an email list in the traditional sense and a community is we actually encourage people. We're like, that people can hit reply to you with your email list. So we ask this sometimes of our people on our list, and we'll say, if you have an opinion on this, if you want to share an experience, hit reply. And we're still behind that. We're still managing our email account and we get all those responses. But I would say the big difference is an email list can sometimes not feel very interactive, whereas a community, that's the whole point. It's interactive and it's engagement. Which is something I know we all kind of feel like we've somewhat lost on social media because so many people are just focusing on sales and not on actually engaging.
Yeah. It's so much more than, even if your online community is entirely made up of your email list, it's about knowing that it's a two-way street and that it's more of a conversation. So, I think we we see build an online community just being so much more, and that's why this course has 14 modules.
Yeah, 14 weeks. But then the other big thing about the way that the course is set up, but it's also just generally with community building, is that we feel like there's a lot of overlap between other areas of running a business. So our big example is Sara sat down and created Kickstart Your Content, which is all about content creation. And so you'll see, though, in building your online community, we do talk about using your content effectively. So you'll see that you can't really have different pieces of your business within silos. I know, Sara, you always like to use the word silo, but these things do overlap a lot. So we're not saying content's the only way to build your community, but we are saying it is a facet. So
yeah. I got the theme song from Roseanne in my head, like love and marriage. Like you can't have one without the other. I don't know. That's so bad.
Little Frank Sinatra reference.
It was also on Jeopardy last night, so I'll get her while I'm watching reruns. Oh my gosh, I'm totally just telling people how much of a nerd I am right now.
But at least it wasn't Friday night that you were watching Jeopardy. It was a Tuesday night. That's totally normal.
Yeah, all right.
So, and then the other, just a few little caveats that we have, a few little notes is we don't, we run an online business. We are business partners who live in very different places, but we do not think that online is the only way to be. We think it can kind of introduce you to a lot of really incredibly interesting, fascinating people who you wouldn't necessarily meet otherwise. Exhibit A, this one over here. But also, you can supplement it with an in-person community. So it's not the end all be all, but it is for us very important.
Absolutely. And it's important to note that a lot of in-person connections actually start online now. And that an online community just makes the world a lot smaller. So, but like you said, it's not meant to supplement in-person interaction is very important in maintaining a healthy social life.
We still think you should leave the house every once in a while. I mean, not every day. Don't be ridiculous, but maybe like once a week.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So, what you'll notice when we talk about building out your online community is that a lot of it is focused around being proactive. So it's not waiting for things to happen, but more or less going out and making them happen. So you'll hear us use the word proactive a lot.
You can put that on your bingo card for Blab. Just anytime we say proactive, you can take a little shot.
Yeah. Coffee.
Not that we're advocating 11 a.m. drinking, but
unless it's caffeine.
Yeah. So we just kind of wanted to walk through some of the lessons. This is not meant solely as a sales pitch, we promise. If you do want to buy the Building Your Online Community e-course, though, we pretty much think it's awesome, but we're a little bit biased. But we do feel like the way we structured it, obviously we put a ton of thought into, and so it kind of represents the way that we think about building our online community, and our little top secret strategies.
Yeah. I mean, the truth is the title of this lab was Our Secrets, and we put our secrets into this course. So,
right. So we should just end it now. Just buy the course. We're done.
No, but that is why we're referencing it so much. We're not all about the hard sales pitch.
Right. Right. Just like to chat.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about what we think is kind of the bedrock, the basis of before you go to build your online community. There's a really important step. It's week 2.
Okay. No, and it's something we already touched upon, and that is determining who you want in your community. So before you can really go out and do any of the later steps in building your community, you really have to understand who you're targeting. We hear this a lot in marketing, like your target market, but I think it becomes even more important with the community, because the only way you can figure out how to best serve that community is by knowing who's in it. So this is where you want to take into account who you really are talking to, and knowing that they can fall into different buckets. So it doesn't all have to be potential clients. It could be potential masterclass mates. It could be your girl crushes, like the people that you're crushing on in business, stuff like that. So it can definitely have different buckets. But you want to know who you're speaking to.
Yeah, absolutely. And keeping in mind, we always say, especially with our membership community, that it doesn't come down to strict kind of demographic statistics. So it's not always the person who, maybe we say we aim for, women between this age and this age, but it's not always women between that age. Sometimes we have people that are kind of outside what we originally thought was going to be our age range, who are the perfect fit in every way, humor and, passion for their businesses. So just being open that it's not always these strict demographics.
Yeah, a lot of it is psychographics. So it's a lot of people that have similar viewpoints, or people that are on similar journeys or have similar goals. And you can't teach personality. So knowing that it doesn't always come down to this just specific skills either. It's more or less that it's mindset.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And then another big thing that we jump into after kind of figuring out who you want in your community is setting up shop. So we feel like it's really important to have these tools in your little toolkit, your little arsenal for community building, and basically make sure that you have a way to effectively manage your community. So one thing that we ask in the course is basically figuring out where you want your community to be living. And so it doesn't have to be just one thing. It could be, I want to have a robust email list, but I also want to be running a Facebook group. And so it could be, I want to have most of my community living over on Instagram, or my blog is kind of the basis of my community. So do you have any other examples there, Sarah?
No, I think it's just the point that not every community is an email list or a Facebook group, but you can build an entire community on Slack now, or even if you're talking about your Pinterest presence and community boards on Pinterest. So I think there are just like way more options, and we shouldn't get siphoned into this one realm of thinking that your online community is your email list or is a Facebook group.
Right, absolutely. And one thing we tell our coaching clients is you can be building your community on one place, on one platform, and you can transition it. And we actually did that with One Woman Shop. So we had, before as Sarah was coming on board, I had this idea with membership to do a forum. And I was like, Facebook, I just didn't like Facebook groups. And this is typical. I get really resistant to random things. And that's how I felt about Facebook groups. So we did a forum, and it was just kind of crickets. Every once in a while someone would post, but it was just really hard to have interaction because people didn't think to go check out the forum. So we actually ended up transitioning over to a Facebook group, and we say to this day, best decision we ever made. It's awesome and active and full of engagement. And so that's just an example of, it's not set in stone. Definitely think through the pros and cons of each platform, but it's not set in stone.
Yeah, and it's really important to think about where you want to interact, because you clearly want to have the drive to actually maintain the community, and then balancing that with what's easiest or what's most likely amongst the people that you're targeting. If we were talking to potential members and none of them were running, this would never happen, but they weren't online entrepreneurs. And so maybe like Facebook isn't part of their daily thing. Like it wouldn't make sense for us to run a Facebook group. So I think it's definitely a blend of like what's good for you, but what's really makes most sense for the people that you're targeting.
Yeah. And definitely keeping in mind that if you have members who are already members of your community who are super active and super engaged, definitely taking their opinions into account more. But if somebody tells you like, I am not going to use this platform, just kind of thinking about, well, if 99% of people are going to use it, maybe it's worth letting go of that one person. I mean, you don't have to you can still be friends with them, but
no, and you do have to keep in mind that asking people you have to take that with a grain of salt, because a lot of people, it's easy to say one thing, but they'll do something else. So when we did transition to the Facebook group, I think I individually emailed every single member we had, asking them to rank the options that we were laying out. And we did have one person that was blatantly like, I will not be a member anymore. And honestly, I don't think she dropped out right away. So I think it's definitely important to have buy-in, but not rely solely on that, like you were saying.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about our actual strategies, things that we think are important steps. And like you said, we're going to say proactive a lot. So proactive steps that you can take to build your online community. And a lot of our strategies are stuff that you see in a lot of other places. So we feel like there's a billion different steps. And we actually did a whole slideshow about the number one way that people build their community. So we'll definitely link to that in the show notes. And so it just goes to show that it's not one size fits all, as we always say. And there's not just one strategy. But we like to kicked off building an online community with the idea of crafting an opt-in. Do you want to dig into that a little bit, Sarah?
Yeah. And I think so we actually dedicate 3 weeks of the course to this idea of building an opt-in, delivering it, and then promoting it, because it's not a build and they will come. So it is a really important piece of building your online community to us, but we do want to, of course, give the caveat that it doesn't. You can't let that hold you up from building your online community if it's not something that can happen right now. So with that caveat in mind, when we talk about an opt-in, we're talking about a valuable free offer or a carrot or however you want to refer to it, but something that you're giving away to your potential community members in exchange for an email list or them joining your Facebook group or whatever it might be. So for us, we've had several different opt-ins, and even ongoing, we have several going at the same time. Our most current one is the Road to Solopreneur Success ebook. So that's a PDF ebook of stories that we collected when we launched the last Solopreneur Success Bundle. But in the past, like Cristina mentioned, there's been a slideshow that was community building secrets, that Cristina actually reached out to people and curated early on, because I think I'm actually in that, and that's pre-Sara as a one-woman. Yeah, that's exciting. And so we talk a lot about the options you have with an opt-in, options of an opt-in. And one of the things we really honestly believe in is using curation, because it makes it easier to get an opt-in going, and it gives you a really great pool of people who are more likely to promote it because they're included in it.
Right. Absolutely. So yeah, we talk about that ad nauseum about the benefits of doing curated content. And so we say it's a win-win. You get an awesome opt-in and they get to have their name featured in front of your community. So we're all about the win-win.
Yeah. And go ahead. Sorry.
No, go for it.
No. So because we don't think that having to have an opt-in should hold you up from building your community, we do talk a lot about ways to make it easier. So another example of that would be taking old content that you've already created and basically curating your own content. So if you have a blog series that's talking about one specific thing, but there are 5 posts, compiling that into an ebook. So there are options for going back to content you've already created and repurposing it for something that is more valuable than having somebody that has to search through your site to find it.
Right, absolutely. And so one of the big reasons that we put opt-in right from the get-go instead of waiting till one of the later lessons is because we felt like having the opt-in gives you one thing or more than one if you're feeling ambitious. We'll just say one for now, one thing to refer people back to as you go out and build your community. So we'll get a little bit more into this, but one thing we talk about is guest posting. And we say, you have a bio when you guest post, and why not direct people right to that opt-in? So you could direct them right to your homepage, but if you direct them to the opt-in, it's something they're probably interested in, and it's a direct, immediate request for their email address as you provide them with valuable content. So we talk about a lot of different ways to incorporate your opt-in as you go out and build your community.
Yeah. But I do, again, want to go back to the fact that, so when I launched my website for my solo business, I had an opt-in box on there with no actual opt-in. So people were signing up without getting anything in return for a solid year, maybe a little bit more. before I actually created a free offer or an opt-in.
Right.
So again, like you can be actually building your community without it, but what our hope is that with the strategies we talk about, it makes it super easy, honestly, to build something, especially if you've already been in the game for a little bit.
Mm-hmm. And then we talk about in one of the later weeks of the opt-in series is we talk about promoting your opt-in. So we have a bunch of different strategies. Basically going back to, sorry, I'm drinking this and it's really bubbly. Probably shouldn't do that on a blog. I'll just stick to the coffee, which I also have on my other side. But yeah, so we talk about promoting your freebie. So in our minds, it's never a matter of just, I put it up and look, hundreds of people are now going to sign up. We say, you can pin a tweet on Twitter. You can pin a post in your Facebook group. You can, we show direct templates for emailing your contributors if you did end up doing a roundup opt-in. So lots of different strategies for getting it out in the world.
Yeah. And that leads right into the next module that is pretty sticky in our minds, which is maximizing your own website to deliver that opt-in and to build your community. So these are things that you can do within your own website. I already said that, but within your own website to get this in front of more people. So one thing that Cristina already mentioned is putting in PS notes. Did you already say that?
I did not already say that. I said that earlier to you, though.
So one thing is going back to old blog posts and optimizing those. So adding a footer opt-in for, if you're talking about certain things within that blog post that relate to your opt-in, putting a footer at the bottom of it that's like, hey, want more? Sign up here. Adding a PS note. We got this from Sara Von Bargen, who we love to refer to as SVB. So adding a quick PS note and putting in your opt-in there, or, interlinking other content that is optimized with your opt-in. So one huge part of site maximization is actually going back to old content and optimizing it.
Yeah. And so this whole idea of the site maximization is based on this idea. You'll be going out and you'll be going out to other people and building your community, but eventually people are going to be coming to your site too. And so making sure that you're kind of hitting those both sides, being proactive, but also knowing, just having your system set up so that when people do come to you, you got it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And then the last big thing that we talk about in maximizing your website, there's a lot of different opinions. We love it, is a pop-up. And so we have the Pop-Up Ally plugin from Natalie Lucier, and we talk about it a lot. We actually have a post coming up in the site, Tools We Love, Pop-Up Ally. And we've just found, we have actually a graph in the Building Your Online Community e-course showing how much our email list grew between the combination of installing Pop-Up Ally at the same time that we are promoting this opt-in #1 way to grow your online community. And the graph is just ridiculous. Like it just skyrocketed. So we are big fans of the pop-up.
Yeah, and keeping in mind that I think we all have this stigma attached to pop-ups from back in the day when they were just super obtrusive. And now having options like Pop-Up Ally where you can actually choose exit intent. So when somebody goes to leave your site, it pops up, or after a certain time delay. So they've had time to devour some of the content on your site before they're bothered by a pop-up or interrupted. So there are options to make it. I think actually Pop-Up Ally might promote themselves as like the polite pop-up. And that's the word that's popping in my head is polite.
Wait, it's popping in your head?
I know, it's just full of the best words today. So kind of detaching from that stigma of what a pop-up used to be,
right,
is really important. And everything we've mentioned so far, you might kind of be like, well, duh, or yeah, I see that everywhere, or whatever it might be popping up. I can't say stuff.
I didn't say anything.
But it's so easy to be like, oh yeah, I'll do that one day, or oh yeah, that looks great on their site. But it takes somebody actually nudging you to make it happen for yourself. So it's basically like this laundry list of things that you could be doing, choosing what makes sense for you and actually doing it.
Yes, which is why we have action steps at the end of every single lesson. So we're not saying, read this, learn about it, and maybe do it in 2 years. We're saying, read it, learn about it, and maybe do it today. So we actually, this is actually a good reminder that we have the course set up in 2 different ways. So we have week by week, and then we have all at once. So you can get all the course content at once. And so we actually did that upon the request of a member, but we did that because we know that people learn in very different ways and they implement in different ways. And so some people want to do it week by week and they want it to feel not intimidating, whereas other people are like, I have a weekend free. I want to sit down and plow through all of this and get my whole system in place for building my online community for the next year. So we respect either way.
One thing that I think most solopreneurs can agree on is once you start doing stuff for your business. So when you get away from client work or selling products, whatever, and you're actually working on stuff for your business, things can easily snowball where you're like, oh, now that I've created an opt-in, I got to do this, this, and this. And suddenly that list keeps growing. But you are really, really excited to do it all. And so you want to actually do a deep dive and spend a few hours. So I think it's one of the hardest things to start, getting into your own stuff in your business. But once you've started, it's one of the hardest things to stop.
Yes.
So this is like, to me, I think I love BYOC because it's all of the things that need to be done, but you don't have to keep thinking of them and keep them in the back of your mind of like, oh, well, once this is done, I'll get to that. This is basically saying like, hey, now that you're done with this, go do this.
It's your roadmap.
Yes.
And also, I'm sitting here smiling because I just realized we didn't actually mention this. Sara and I met through an opt-in.
Oh, true story.
How did I not mention this? So I was running my solo business and I was doing coaching and I made a worksheet. This is crazy. It just boggles my mind to think back to that. And I never thought it would result in this. But I did this worksheet about determining your workplace priorities. I won't go too far into it. But it's this whole little pink color coordinated worksheet. And Sara downloaded it. And yeah, of course. And booked a coaching session based off of the worksheet. So opt-ins could get you good things, friends.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Cool. So cool. Transitions.
Taking a walk down memory lane there.
Yeah, right.
But that's like the first half of what we talk about in the e-course. So like you're halfway there at this point.
Yeah, you've done half the work, you guys, just by listening to us talk about it.
Absolutely. But I think it's at this point that it gets kind of a little bit harder, to be honest, because the next couple of weeks we're talking about really putting yourself out there. Mm-hmm. So do you want to introduce what our next topic is?
Sure. I feel like I'm going to sneeze, so I'll try to hold it down. So our next week that we talk about is pitching yourself. And so I think a lot of times when people hear pitching yourself, they immediately think of guest posts, but we talk about it in a lot of different ways. So we always say when people reach out to us via email and they're like, I'm an expert in this topic. Would you like me to come on a blab and talk to you about it? Or I would love to write a guest post for you guys on this topic. We're like, cool. Like that saves us time from having to go out and find people to contribute. So we love when people are proactive, ding, ding, ding. And so we also try to be as proactive as possible by putting ourselves out there for opportunities. So we actually have some templates. And then we talk about a few different ways that you can pitch yourself. So we talk about guest posting. We also talk about interview opportunities. So a lot of sites will do interview series. So we talk about how to best pitch yourself for those. And then we also talk about podcasts. So podcasts are the big thing now. And so we talk about how to kind of effectively pitch yourself to be a guest on someone's podcast.
Yeah, everybody's doing it. No, it is really important because I think a lot of people think, well, I'm not a writer. And so I'm not, who's to say that I'm a good enough writer to be writing on somebody else's site, and it really holds them back from guest posting. But it doesn't have to be a guest post. We love having guests on Blab. If we had a podcast, we would love having people on our podcast. So I think it's important to really branch out and see how else you can contribute to other people's content, essentially, by lending your expertise and getting out of the realm of, oh, it's just guest posting.
Yeah, absolutely. And these kinds of collaborations, which we actually will talk more about in a little bit, but these types of collaborations set yourself up for success because you have a collaborator that you can then do future collaborations with. And kind of have all the benefits of collaborations, which we won't even go into because we did that on the recent Blab collaboration station. And then the other huge benefit is you're getting in front of their communities. So you get in front of their communities and you kind of invite all of those listeners and all those readers back to your community.
Absolutely. And I mean, it's extending your reach, and it's also the accountability you have when you're basically accountable to somebody else.
Right, absolutely. The sneeze is just lingering right up in there.
I've been we're real healthy. All right, so I mean that's really pitching yourself is like the first way of getting yourself out there. Bless you. There it is.
I tried to mute, but I didn't do it fast enough. Sorry, guys.
Gosh. Yeah, springtime. So the next thing we talk about is joining the conversation elsewhere. And this isn't so much about inserting your content in other people's places, but joining existing conversations that are happening, maybe in the blog comments on somebody else's blog that you'd love to get on the radar of. Joining Twitter chats. So if somebody else is hosting it and you're joining as a participant. Finding relevant places that make sense where people that you want in your community would be hanging out is the first way to kind of find those places where it makes sense to join the conversation elsewhere.
Right, absolutely. And so what we're really saying is go network, but we don't say network very often because we feel like there is a big stigma against the word network, but kind of reframing, we like to reframe the conversation around networking that again, it's give and take. It is not all about just kind of spamming people with your latest offer or your latest opt-in. It's really finding those places where you can kind of answer people's questions and insert yourself, but in a effective way, not in a way that's going to piss people off, because we don't advocate for that.
Yeah, we like to make people happy.
Yeah, not best.
Yeah. So then after that, we actually have 3 weeks of content in the course dedicated to one of Christina's absolute favorite topics.
I love this topic.
Which is direct outreach, which probably makes a lot of other people squirm. Throughout those 3 weeks, we talk about the direct outreach in building collaborations with others, in putting your email to work, and then actually connecting via, bless you, the godforsaken phone or video calls.
Whoa. I'm feeling very emotional about the phone calls.
So do you want to talk a little bit when you're done suppressing that sneeze about why you are so passionate about direct outreach?
I would love to. I look like I'm crying my eyes out. Okay. I love direct outreach. So this is, again, like not normal. And so sometimes I think about my strengths and I'm like, I have none. And then I'm like, oh, I like to cold email, which is like it's just not a thing that the average person likes to do. So it's like my one unique skill. So I like direct outreach because I feel like there's always someone that is going to be willing to work with you in some capacity, but maybe they haven't thought of it yet. Maybe you think that they see all your posts on Twitter, but they don't. Maybe you think that, I don't know, what other things you could think about why someone basically hasn't been working with you yet. I need to.
Oh, was that a question?
No, it was a statement, but then I got confused about what I was saying. So basically direct outreach puts the power into your hands. So it basically says, I'm going to take control. This is the outcome that I want. And I am going to proactively, is it annoying yet with the proactive? But I'm going to proactively go after what I want. What are the other benefits to you of being really proactive in that, in the direct outreach?
I think it helps you hone your communication skills because you're like, you just have to figure out what you're going to say. It gives you a lot of confidence because I think there's a lot to be said for somebody that's okay with blindly reaching out to somebody. I think it's also a lesson in rejection or learning to deal with rejection, I should say. So you will have people that are just like no, and knowing that it's not like a no does not mean no forever. So I think there's a lot to be learned just in developing your own communication skills, but also in seeing the value of actually like using email for the purpose that email was created.
No, I love it. And so we also talk a lot about following up. So you'll find often maybe someone won't respond to you. And so we talk a lot about taking the time to follow up. We have some tools. We love boomerang. We actually have a whole post coming about the art of following up. But really knowing that sometimes if someone doesn't respond to you the first time, we get so many people who we follow up with and they're like, it ended up in spam. I didn't even see your email. So keeping in mind that if you don't get a response, it's not necessarily a no, that it could be they haven't seen your message or maybe they just haven't had time to respond.
Yeah, and just thinking about how you interact with your own inbox, like unless you're one of the people that actually maintains inbox zero every day, which I'm in awe of you, there are just things that get pushed to the back burner so easily. And it's not that people don't want to respond or that they're not excited about it, but other things come up and they get easily distracted, essentially. So in a lot of cases, we feel like people are doing us a favor when they follow up with us. So we like to think of it as that in return, acknowledging that they're busy or, you know, that it might have slipped off their radar, but you're just trying to make sure it doesn't slip off yours.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd love to talk about some of the ways that we have reached out to people with direct outreach to build our online community, because I feel like we've talked kind of broadly, but I would love to give some specific examples for anyone listening in case you're like, what the heck is the actual purpose of this? What am I reaching out to them about? So I have some ideas, but do you want to, anything that jumps into your head immediately?
I think so. This is probably one of the things you would talk about, but taking a look at who's commenting on your blog posts and double checking against your email list to see if they're already on there or wherever your communities reside. So Cristina does this on a monthly basis, checks the blog commenters, and then we have a canned response, a nice, beautiful template for reaching out to those people and asking if they'd be interested in joining our mailing list, because that is the best way to keep up on the latest from One Woman Shop. We did this for people that purchased the Solopreneur Success Bundle last September, because a lot of people that bought the bundle actually came through other people's communities to find it. So they weren't necessarily already subscribed to One Woman Shop. So following up with those people. So those are two pretty broad examples.
Yeah. So we always do these roundup posts. We do roundup opt-ins, but we also do posts regularly. So I'll find people sometimes on Twitter, or I know Sarah's found people on Instagram, and we'll say, okay, we're doing a post about, so you want to be a virtual assistant. So we want to interview virtual assistants. So we do our little like Google searching, and we find people and we just email them and we're like, hey, this is who we are. This is what we're working on. Would you be open to contributing? And I feel the response rate always blows me away, because these people, I just always come back to, if you have a good outreach template and you sound like a real genuine person, you'll be shocked at the results. It's when you sound like a spammy robot that you're probably not going to see the results you want.
Correct. No, dear sir or madam.
Or dear onewomanshop.com. Wait, dear http://onewomanshop.com. Never good.
Yeah. It's definitely, there's so much to be said about crafting a really great outreach email, and it's one that you can use over and over again, so long as you're swapping stuff out to make sense for the person you're talking to. But taking the time to make it personal is really important.
And lucky for you, we actually give some templates. The templates that you should probably edit and make them fit your own voice, but kind of a jumping off point within building your online community e-course. Baton. I feel like the baton is a perfect example.
Yes.
Should I talk about that?
Sure.
So we have the Instagram baton, which is where we allow different business owners to take over our Instagram account for a day to show a day in the life of their solo business. It's so fun. It gets them in front of our community. It gets us awesome content. And it's just fun for everyone. I get like people who like my sister and like random friends will be like, I love the baton. And they like don't even run solo businesses. So we love the baton. And then a lot of times people will just find it and sign up. But a lot of times we'll have people who are interacting with us. So the latest example, we have our hashtag One Woman Shop Life. And so I was kind of looking on Instagram and finding people who are using the hashtag and then just finding their email addresses and emailing them and saying, would you like to carry the baton? Clearly you like us. Clearly you like Instagram. Perfect fit. So just kind of seeing all those different opportunities for doing effective collaborations.
Yeah, and it's definitely tailoring the collaboration opportunity because we do have a bunch of different ways. Like it might be reaching out to somebody to say, are you interested in joining our mailing list? But it might be want to carry the baton or want to write a guest post because we really value your expertise. So knowing that it's not always the same ask either.
Yeah, absolutely. And in the course, we actually highlight different cool collaborations that we've seen from other people. So one example, Jess Lively, who actually was on our 100 Best Sites for Solopreneurs, she used to reach out to other business owners in her email. At the bottom of every single email would say like, here's so-and-so and a little short bio about it. And so it was really cool, just like a way to get to know some of her readers and people within her community. And then it's obviously cool for the person who gets featured.
Yeah. Yeah. So that kind of leads into like the last portion of the course where we talk about empowering your community. So you've started building this community and knowing that, first off, building your community is an ongoing effort. It doesn't start and end at any given point. But while you're building your community, how you can be empowering the people that are a part of it currently. So part of that is empowering them to actually spread the word about your community, and promote it on behalf of you. And then part of it is basically making it really enjoyable for them. So running Instagram challenges or having a Twitter chat that you specifically invite that community to. So having specific opportunities that empower your community to really feel a part of it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And we talk about little tools like click to tweet. So basically you already have people in your community who love you, hopefully, and love what you're working on. And so they probably have people in their communities who will also love your work. So basically ways that you can kind of, like we mentioned before, expand your reach.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then the last huge no is just kind of treating your community as individuals. So it's not just this lump. It's not you own this group of people. And I say that because I feel like sometimes people talk about their community as this sense of ownership in a weird way. And you have created it, but they are still individuals. They're not your flock of sheep. And so, so we talk a lot about kind of ways to make your community really happy and to reward your community and to kind of just say thank you. So we give little Starbucks gift cards is our thing.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's really important to recognize that if you didn't have those people in your community, you wouldn't have a community. It's as simple as that, but it often takes little reminders. So I think, and it's a lot of fun as a business owner to be able to send little treats or rewards every once in a while.
Yeah, absolutely. And just another reminder that not everyone is going to become a paying customer client, and that's okay. And so we have a lot of people that we interact with on a very regular basis who are probably never going to become a member. Maybe are never going to buy one of our products. That's okay. And so I think you want people in your community, obviously, that are helping provide value for your business, but at the same time, that cannot be your only intention.
Absolutely. But knowing those people, it goes back to knowing that your online community is made up of so much more than people that might buy your product or become a member or whatever it is. But it's also just the people that are going to help you be successful, whether it's just from you getting inspiration from that person or them lending a listening ear once in a while, whatever it might be. So it's not always people that will pay you, but it's still people that are super important to have on your side or in your community or whatever you want to say for your solo business.
Yeah, absolutely. Any other final thoughts about community?
No, I think it's just seriously like one of the most important things in running a solo business. But I don't think we can stress that enough. And it's clearly we're biased because we run a community, but
and write an ebook about it, an e-course about it.
But even when I started out as a solo business owner, one of my greatest fears was loneliness, no longer having coworkers or a place to go into every day or a boss to answer to. It sounds weird, but like, you're going to miss that interaction. So I know that I'm very fortunate that it wasn't long into my solo business that I did find a community. And now that makes it one of the things that I preach the most.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Community.
Okay, so we will be back. Actually, next week will be the 1st of June, which is crazy. So we'll be back 11 a.m. Eastern, the hot seat.
See you then. Bye, guys.